The New York Knicks have one of the most intriguing rosters for this upcoming season. They have the young talent in Robinson, Ntilikina, and Kevin Knox, as well as Kristaps Porzingis coming back from injury. Then there are middle-aged NBA players trying to break their way into bigger roles, such as Hardaway Jr., Noah Vonleh, Trey Burke, and Emmanuel Mudiay. But one guy who could break his way into a massive role is Enes Kanter. Kanter will be going into his second year with the Knicks and is in a contract year, and I expect huge things from him on the offensive end of the basketball court. This video will analyse the kind of skills that Kanter has, how the Knicks will have to rely heavily on him, and what his options will be come the end of the year in free agency. Enes Kanter is one of the last big men in the league who really plays like old school bigs. He has a fantastic post game, can shoot the mid-range jumper, and hasn't really stepped out to the three-point line yet. At the same time, he is a fantastic rebounder on the offensive and defensive glass, and plays with an energy that is both contagious and difficult to contain. But to me, the most impressive thing about his game is really his post-up game. There is a reason that Kanter was taken third in the draft back in 2011. He has incredibly quick feet in the post and amazingly soft hands when shooting his shots after moves. Enes has nearly every single post move in the game and has amazing counter moves to go with them. One of his best moves by far is the simple baseline drop step and spin that Kanter uses. He'll frequently lean his shoulder towards the paint while backing a defender down before viciously ripping towards the baseline. Due to his large size, the defender will struggle to recover as quickly, and Kanter will trap them behind him most of the time. From here, it's simply a double team, a dunk, or a layup every time. The other move Kanter frequently uses to begin his post-up torture is a simple power move into the paint. From here, he can quickly rise up for a hook or pump fake and go up and under towards the basket. And this is the true beauty of a great post-up game and of Kanter's game. The ability to maintain your pivot foot and have the maximum amount of movement after establishing the pivot allows you to torture your defender. A lot of big men, Dwight Howard being one of the best examples, have great first moves and use their extreme athleticism to get them off. But if they never develop counter moves, they become predictable, and defenders will know how and when to try and stop them. And like Dwight, when their athleticism begins to decline, so does their post game as a reliable and efficient source of scoring. Kanter has those counter moves. He can go up and under from any of his moves, can fade from all of them, and can even spin and go back the other way after getting his defender to commit too much. I expect the Knicks to utilise Kanter a lot in the post next year. With no Porzingis, I foresee New York running a lot of smaller guys at the 4 and trying to play a pace and space style of basketball. This will give Kanter a lot of room down low to operate, and he will find himself on the low block when the Knicks' possessions don't work as intended. If Enes gets the ball down low with space to operate, he's very tough to stop from scoring, and a lot of teams will have to double team him. This will open up the floor and allow Kanter to pass to open shooters and cutters. Enes hasn't been the best passer in his career, but he also hasn't really been asked to distribute the ball much. If Fizdale can tap into this and implore him to utilise the double teams to get his young teammates going, I can really see him responding and actively trying to find the right pass. The only downside of not having two bigger guys on the court and playing a smaller lineup is the small drop in offensive rebounding for the team. It's pretty simple that when you have only one giant rebounding threat, it is easier to keep them off the offensive glass. There are less breakdowns, less taps, and less opportunities for Kanter to get inside and steal a rebound. Enes is good enough in this area to still get some, and hell, he could surprise me and continue to average 4 or so offensive rebounds a game. And while I do think his offensive rebound numbers will go down, I think his overall rebounding numbers will rise. The Knicks will have to rely on Kanter to clean up the defensive glass in a huge way. Enes isn't a great defender, and I think Fizdale will ask him to focus on not going for blocks and help side defense as much. This will force his teammates to play one-on-one defense and try and stop the opposition as well as they can, because Kanter isn't going to provide much help even if he does come over. And if he does come over and help, it will expose the smaller Knicks even more on the rebound. For this reason, I think Kanter will just stick to his man and get ready to box them out. If the rest of the team can also box out, it will be easy pickings for Kanter, and he will gobble up rebound after rebound with his relentless energy, great timing, and great first leap. Last season, Enes averaged around 11 rebounds a game, but this worked out to be around 15 rebounds per 36 minutes of playing time. I think Kanter will get a few more minutes per game and could end up averaging around 13 rebounds a game for the whole season. This number would be up there with guys like DeAndre Jordan, DeMarcus Cousins, and Andre Drummond. He would be fantastic at ensuring that there are very few extra possessions for the opposition, and this will be important for the Knicks due to their overall slightly weak defense. The other area of the game where Kanter really helps the Knicks is in the pick and roll. He's been fantastic at this area of the game since his time in OKC with Russell Westbrook. Kanter sets fantastic screens. He's strong in his screen setting and is great at setting them at the right angle to get good separation for his ball handler into a spot that they like. Then, Enes will dive to the rim most of the time, with his hands up and usually getting behind his defender and into the paint. This is important for two reasons. First, it opens up a nice little lob pass into him, or allows the point guard to wrap the ball around into the paint for an easy score. Secondly, if the pass isn't on, then the guard can put up a shot knowing that Kanter has fantastic rebounding position if he misses. The second part of this is probably the most important, as if Kanter gets that deeper position, the rebound is almost certainly his. Enes can also fade in the pick and roll and get out to the free throw line area for a jump shot. When his game is on, he is fantastic at hitting this mid-range shot, and it allows him to help space the floor when he isn't necessarily involved in the action. Last season, this was a fair bit of the time, as the team focused on getting Porzingis the ball, and they also had Kyle O'Quinn to anchor the bench offense. But this season, the team doesn't have a dominant big man on the roster. Their options are really Joakim Noah, Mitchell Robinson, Kanter, and then Noah Vonleh as an undersized 5. But the thing is, Vonleh isn't yet to prove that he can log minutes at the 5, and is more likely to try and develop into a stretch 4 if he was smart. Then, there is Noah, whose Knicks career has been thwarted with injuries and simply not being the same player he once was for the Bulls. He'll be trying to come back and earn some minutes, and if he does, it will be huge for the Knicks. But I imagine that they'll be operating under the assumption that he doesn't provide much for them this season. So this leaves the Knicks with Kanter and Robinson as players that they'll actively want to give minutes at the 5 to. I think for the start of the season, the Knicks will have Kanter start, as they won't want to throw Robinson into the fire of playing against the best players in the league, who will be trying to expose the young rookie. Instead, I think they'll try and give him between 12 and 20 minutes a game off of the bench. But if they were smart, they would try and pull Kanter from the game at the 6-minute mark and let Robinson get some of his minutes with the starters. By playing the Knicks starters such as Kevin Knox, Hardaway, Ntilikina, Courtney Lee, etc., Robinson will be able to focus on defense, setting screens, and getting rebounds. The points will come naturally from being in the right position, and from the defense being forced to focus on the other players and not Mitchell Robinson. Whereas if he plays with a bench unit, there won't be as much creation on the court, and Robinson won't get easy looks, and defenses will be able to focus more attention onto him. By having Robinson play his minutes with the starters, you also allow Kanter to then sub back in and help man the bench unit. Kanter on the bench unit works a lot better, as you can simply give him the ball in the post and let him go to work against some of the questionable bench bigs around the league. Teams seem to have less big men on their roster these days due to the trend towards shooting and smaller skilled players. If any opposition bigs are in foul trouble or are injured, then teams likely won't have a big with the size and defensive skill required to match Kanter in the post on their bench. This will be so important for the Knicks bench, as they basically have no ways to score outside of Kanter and Trey Burke. Which on a side note is another reason why I think the Knicks should start Ntilikina and bring Burke off of the bench to help carry the offense when Hardaway, Knox and Courtney Lee sit. The bench lineup will probably consist of a combination of Burke, Lance Thomas, Hezonja, Mudiay, Dotson, Alonzo Trier, and Kadeem Allen. Outside of Hezonja and Burke, all of these guys are inconsistent, and I think the Knicks will try and use the veteran Burke, Hezonja, and Kanter combination to anchor the big bench minutes. But despite this, the Knicks bench will have trouble, and they are just a few injuries away from being really shallow and having to start players who aren't ready for it yet. For this reason, the Knicks are likely going to be doing a lot of losing this season until KP comes back. They might try and make a push for the playoffs due to the East being weaker, but realistically, they just aren't competitive enough compared to the Pistons and a few other young Eastern teams. The Knicks would be better off accepting this and potentially pushing for a top draft pick by losing. The top of the draft this year is stacked, and the Knicks adding one of these pieces would complete their young core of Knox, Ntilikina, Robinson, and Porzingis. While fans might not like another losing year, the reality is that while their current core is good, adding a Zion Williamson, Cam Reddish or RJ Barrett would make their potential go up a whole nother level. I think they would prefer to grab one of Reddish, Barrett, Langford or another shooting guard, as this would mean they last 4 years of draft picks line up perfectly at all 5 positions. The Knicks could then commit to the team and look to add pieces in free agency to complement them and bolster their bench. And Kanter would be a perfect piece to add long term to the Knicks in this regard. The problem will just be his price tag. If Kanter has a great year starring for New York, he could command another big contract around 10 to 15 million a year. Despite his defensive woes, I am sure some team would be convinced he can really help them if he has just averaged 18 points and 12 rebounds a game on great shooting. Plus, Kanter is only 26 and will be in his prime for the next 3 to 5 years. This will entice teams as his production and skill level will almost be guaranteed, and unlike players who are 30, there is little risk to signing him. For this reason, New York could also try and limit his minutes and role in order to keep his price tag down. But I don't think they would do this, as it would likely deter Kanter from signing long term. They'll instead be hoping that he likes New York as much as he says he does, and is willing to accept a small discount and maybe sign for around $8 million a year over 3 to 4 years. If he does, he will be a fantastic six-man and veteran presence for the Knicks as they develop their young core. Having a big like Kanter come off the bench is simply ridiculous, and the Thunder showed how valuable he was in that 2016 playoff series against the Spurs. In this series, they used the flexibility of inserting Kanter in the lineup and absolutely tortured the slower, older Spurs on the glass. Ultimately, it will come down to how much money Kanter wants and whether or not he is content with the large amount of money he has already made in his career. But for this season, I'm excited for Kanter to play a big role in the Knicks offense and put up shots in the post on his way to some big numbers. What happens after that will be up to him. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications as well. And let me know in the comments below what you think of Kanter and the New York Knicks.